All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin with our diversification math study guide. Number 1 reads, your $2,000 investment in a tech stock doubles. Your $1,000 investment in an energy stock drops in half. What was the total return on the two investments? So the actual equation for total return is going to start with our ending value. So what we ended with. Then we're going to divide that by our beginning value, so our original total of our investment. And then we're going to subtract that number that we come to by 1, so we make sure that we subtract out our original investment. And then we are going to multiply that by 100, since we will get a decimal to see what percentage our total return on the two investments were. So to begin with our ending value, let's see how much growth or how much loss we've had in each of these. So let's start with our tech stock first. We started with $2,000 in our tech stock, and we know that it doubles. So we're going to multiply it by 2. So by the end of this period, we are going to have $4,000 in our tech stock. Now remember, we have 2 different types of stocks, so let's make sure we include both of those. Next, we have our energy stock, and we invested $1,000 into that, but this one actually took a loss and it dropped in half. So we're going to divide that by 2. So that only leaves us remaining with $500 invested in our energy stock. So to find our ending value of both stocks, we're going to take our $4,000 from our tech stock and we're going to add it to our $500 from our energy stock for a total ending value of $4,500. Now, our beginning value is what we started with, so our original investments into each stock. So for our tech stock, we know that was $2,000, and we're going to add that to our energy stock, which we originally invested $1,000. So our beginning value was $3,000. So let's get started on our total return equation here. So again, total return is equal to, and that's going to be our ending value, which we know as $4,500, and we are going to divide it by our beginning value of $3,000. When we divide that by 4,500 divided by 3,000, we arrive at 1.5. Now remember, the 100% was our original investment, so we need to subtract out the 1 to get our return on investment, which is 0.5. And we know when we multiply that by the last step of 100, that brings us to the percent of 50%. So that is a 50% return on investment for the two investments combined. So again, total return is equal to your ending value divided by your beginning value minus 1 multiplied by 100. All right, let's take a look at 2 other investments here as well. So we have 2 investments, and the value of investment A at the end of April was $370, at the end of May was $400, and at the end of June was $620. The value of investment B at the end of April was $600, at the end of May was $570, and at the end of June was $350. What was the largest month-to-month percentage change in total value of your investments? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the 3 months individually, April, May, and June. And we're going to add together our 2 values for each investment for that month. So let's begin with April. So in April, investment A was $370, and investment B was $600. So when we add those 2 together, we know the value of both of those investments at the end of April was $970. All right, let's see what May brings. So May, we ended investment A at $400, and then investment B was $570. So for a total for the month of May, that equals $970 as well. And then the last month is June. So at the end of June, investment A had $620, and investment B had $350. So these two combined in value in the month of June brought us to $970. Now you guys see that each month the value never changed, but the investments went up and down individually. So this is a really, really good example of diversification, how we spread out risk. Had we only invested in A or only invested in B, sometimes we would have taken a loss or sometimes we would have taken a gain. But again, diversification helps us to spread that risk. So looking over the 3 months, at the end of every month, the total value of investments was $970. So therefore, there was 0% change in between each month. Let's get started on number 3. In experiment A, you roll 1 die and multiply the result by 3. In experiment B, you diversify and roll 3 dice and add up the results. Is experiment A or B more likely to give 18 as the result? So let's look at experiment A first. So to be able to roll a die and then multiply by 3 to get 18, there is only one number we could possibly roll, which is a 6. 6 times 3 is 18. So how likely is it for us to roll a 6? So since there are 6 sides of a dice, the odds of doing this are 1 in 6, or what we refer to as 1.67. So those are our chances of rolling that dice and actually getting a 6 to multiply it by 3 to get our 18. Those are our odds for experiment A. Let's take a look at experiment B. So to get a 18 in experiment B, you must roll 3 consecutive 6s. So the odds of doing this are going to be 1 6 multiplied by 1 6 multiplied by 1 6, or 1 6 to the 3rd power. So the chances of experiment B working are going to be 0.0046. So which one are we more likely to do? Experiment A with our chance of 0.167 or experiment B with our chances of 0.0046? That's right. So experiment A is going to be more likely to result in 18. Let's take a look at number 4. You have 2 equal investments that always have exact opposite returns. How will your total value of both investments vary over time? So let's say we've got investment A, and investment A gains $50 this month. But investment B, as the problem reads, has the exact opposite return. So if A gains $50, that means B would actually lose $50. Let's try it again. Let's say A actually is the one with the loss this time, and A loses $100. Well, B, being the exact opposite, is going to gain $100. So how your total value of both investments vary over time? Well, they actually stay the same, because if your investments have exactly opposite returns, which they do, your losses and gains will balance themselves out. Take a look at the last one, number 5. Portfolio A is 30% in money markets, 40% in bonds, and 30% in stocks. Portfolio B is 100% invested in stocks. Which one is more diversified? That's going to be portfolio A. Again, we have taken that risk and we've spread it between money markets, bonds, and stocks. So if anything goes wrong, we've got the other 2 hopefully to fall back on. Portfolio B is only invested in stocks. So if something were to happen to the stock market, that portfolio may end up in a total loss. So again, we want to diversify by spreading that risk over different types of investments to cover and hopefully balance any losses but come out with a gain in the end.